Assalamualaikum. Kejap. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dan salam
Assalamualaikum.
sejahtera ke dengan Mas.
Tak tahu cikgu, kamera rosak sini.
Ha? Apa
Dah,
dia?
kamera rosak lah sini, dah on dah kamera.
Dah on dah kamera? Tak ada muka?
Tak.
Oh, tak lock muka ya. Okey, tak ada muka. Okey, hari ni we want to start our tutorial for course behaviour. Okay, hopefully you are get ready for the tutorial question. And before we start the class, harap semua dah bangun lah ya. Kita ada kelas the morning. Bunyi apa tu Muaz?
Kipas.
Are you okay Muaz? Bunyi
Okay,
kipas?
okay.
Never mind. Lepas baca doa nanti awak silent your mic ya. Okay, so kita akan buat secara live for tutorial question section B. Hopefully that you all of you have done for course behaviour. Okay, tanpa membuang masa, saya jemput saudara Muaz untuk membacakan doa. Okey, dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma ftah alaina hikmataka wa syu alaina min razaqi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin.
Okey. Muaz, awak boleh silent. Okay. Okay, thank you. So, topic 3. Topic 3 is about course behaviour and okay, this is the topic 3. Topic 3, what is more important, you must know the definition for fixed cost and fixed cost per unit, and then you must know how to calculate fixed cost and how to plot the graph, and also for variable cost and variable cost per unit. Okay, Muaz, cuba respon sikit. Nampak tak my ni? Nampak kan?
Nampak you.
Alright. Okay, boleh silentkan. Silentkan. Begitu. Okay. Actually, this topic you must know how to calculate variable cost per unit, and mixed cost. And as you know that mixed cost, you have two items. And then you have to segregate mixed cost into two items, yaitu fixed cost and variable cost. So after you calculate, and then you must know how to plot the graph. So today we just want to focus how to calculate variable cost, fixed cost, variable cost per unit, and how to segregate mixed cost. Okay, look at this question. Question number 1. As a financial officer, okay. Financial in a furniture factory in Chizul, Hakim decide to make an estimation for fixed cost and variable cost component which is related to his business activities. So given this is the item and the activities for June until December. So we have to use, so requirement, you are required to use high-low method to calculate variable cost per kg. So the activity is using kilogram. So the first step, when you want to use high-low method, you must identify the highest activity. That one is in terms of kg, and the lowest. So the lowest in kg is 2 kg with the lowest cost 15 ringgit, and the highest activity is 8 kg with the highest cost is 36. So you are required to calculate variable cost per unit. And in this cost, this one we call mixed cost. So you have to segregate by using high-low method. Now, by using high-low method, you are required to calculate variable cost per kg, calculate fixed cost, and cost function y equals to a plus bx. Now, okay, we just substitute the item in the formula. Okay, the formula given, you must know the formula: highest cost minus lowest cost divided by highest unit in kg less lowest unit in kg. So you substitute the amount in the formula 36. This one is the highest less the lowest one, then divided by 8 kg less or minus 2 kg, then you get variable cost per unit RM 3.50 per kg or 3 ringgit and 50 cent per kg. Now we look at number 2. You just substitute the amount into the function y equals to bx. B represent for variable cost per unit and A represent for fixed cost. So substitute in the formula. Okay, you can take at any level. Let's say that you take at the highest activity. It means that you must take the highest cost and the highest activity. You just substitute the amount and then you got A of fixed cost equals to RM 8 or 8 ringgit. Or you can substitute with the lowest activities. Let's say that you take the lowest one. The lowest one represent for lowest cost 15 and the lowest activity. When you substitute the amount, you still get the same amount for fixed cost RM 8 or 8 ringgit. So it means that the amount for fixed cost remain constant at any level of activity. Okay, number 2, the one is number 2 now. You have to form the cost function. Y equals to A represent for fixed cost, X RM8 plus BX. B represent for variable cost per unit. So that one is for question number 1. You are required to calculate variable cost per unit and then you have to substitute the amount to calculate fixed cost and you have to form the cost function. Now, look at question number 2. Okay, this one, number 2. Sinar Zaman Enterprise sells honey jelly. The management has compiled the following data of the cost item involved from 3 different sales levels. Okay, you look at this question. There are 3 levels. When you want to apply high-low method, you must choose the highest activities and the lowest activity. So we must choose 5,000 unit represent for lowest activity and 10,000 unit represent for highest activity. Oh, okay, this is the question. Okay, look at this one. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. Number 1, so you must classify this item either fixed cost, variable cost, or mixed cost. Wait, I just want to silence my handphone. Okay, from that question, you must identify the cost. Okay, the cost either variable cost, fixed cost, or mixed cost. Okay, you look at this question. Cost of jelly increased from 5,000 unit. The cost is 5,250 and then the amount is increased or the cost is increased. Okay, that means maybe you have to calculate. But cost of jelly, that one is direct material because we are producing honey jelly. Okay, wages and salary, the amount or the cost increase when the level of output increase. So maybe this one is mixed cost, but we have to calculate using high-low method. Okay, for depreciation, the cost remain constant. Okay, you can see 5,000, 8,000 and 10,000, that one remain constant. It means that depreciation categorized as fixed cost. Utilities and supplies, you can see that the cost increase when the level of output increase. It might be variable cost or mixed cost, but we have to calculate using high-low method. And the last one, admin expenses, the cost remain constant. Okay, you can see the remain constant. So it means that administration expense categorized or classified as fixed costs. Okay, you can apply high-low method to calculate for variable cost or for mixed cost. But for fixed cost, you don't have to calculate anymore. So you are required to determine cost behavior, and then using high-low method, you have to classify mixed cost, and then you have to segregate mixed cost into fixed cost and variable cost. Okay, now, and then you have to calculate the total cost and expenses. Okay, this one, total cost. You have to add all the cost item, and then you will find out the total variable cost per unit and total cost. And then you have to form a cost function for total cost. Okay, I highlight this one. Total, that means you have to add all the cost item given in the question, and then you have to form the cost function. And also this one, you have to calculate the total cost and expenses. Okay, now we look at the answer. Now we have to use or you have to apply high-low method, and then you have to calculate. Okay, this is the answer. So you have to calculate cost of jelly. That one is direct material. So you just calculate and you find out variable cost per unit. The answer is 1.05, but no fixed cost. So that one, cost of jelly classified as variable cost. And the blue color represent for mixed cost. You have to show them by using high-low method. So when you calculate, you will find out the variable cost per unit for wages and salaries 0.05, and the fixed cost is 4,000. So now we have segregate the mixed cost into two items, variable cost per unit and fixed cost. And for depreciation and admin expenses, you have fixed cost only. But for these three items, wages and salaries, utilities and supplies, these costs categorized or classified as mixed costs. Okay, what should you do? You have to total all these items, and then you got the total variable cost per unit. You must plus all these variable costs for each item. And for fixed costs, you must add or plus for these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, and you got the total cost. You must know from the question they want the amount for total cost. Okay, now I will show you how to segregate for wages and salaries into variable cost and fixed cost using high-low method. Okay, this is the answer for wages and salaries. Okay. Okay, just now we have choose already the lowest unit 5,000 and the lowest cost 4,250 for wages and salary. And this is the highest unit and this is the highest cost. You just substitute this amount into the formula and then you will get variable cost per unit 0.05 cent per unit. Okay. After that, you just substitute the amount into the formula and you can find that. You can choose either the highest unit with the highest cost or you can take the lowest unit with the highest cost. And then your answer for fixed cost remain the same. Whatever or what level you take, okay? So the answer is 4,000. That one for wages and salaries. So when you want to form the cost function for wages and salaries, what is the answer? When you want to form the function, so you can get y equals to Rm, that one, 4,000 plus Rm 0.05 x. Okay, this is the cost function for wages and salary. So it means that in this total cost, you can segregate into fixed cost where the amount is 4,000 and this one variable cost. Okay, the next one, we look at the utilities. You still have to do the same step. The first step, you must calculate the variable cost per unit. You just substitute the amount. 10,000 represent for the highest unit and this is the highest cost and 5,000 represent the lowest unit and this is the lowest cost. You must memorize this formula. You just substitute in the formula and then you will get variable cost per unit for utilities is Rm 0.02 per unit. And then the second step, you have to substitute variable cost per unit in order to calculate fixed cost. So you can take either the lowest unit with the lowest cost or you can take the highest unit with the highest cost. So you get 400 ringgit. So when you want to prepare the cost function and then you will get y. Let's say you want to prepare the cost function for utilities. So y equals to Rm 400. That one is fixed cost plus Rm 0.02x. So this is the cost function for utilities. You should know cost function. It means that it contains fixed cost and variable cost. If you substitute x with the unit, then you got this one for variable cost. Okay, the next one. I will show you how to calculate to segregate supplies into fixed cost and variable cost per unit. Okay, this is the answer. You just substitute in the formula lowest unit with the lowest cost, highest unit with the highest cost, and when you substitute the amount, you will get Rm 0.01 per unit. This is the first step. The second step, you just substitute variable cost per unit in order to calculate fixed cost. So the formula is y equals to a plus px. You can take either the lowest unit with the lowest cost or highest unit with the highest cost and the answer for fixed cost Rm 100 remain constant. Either you take 5,000 or 10,000. So you can form the cost function for utilities. What is the cost function for, this one is supplies. So what is the cost function? So I just tell you the cost function represent for total cost. Total cost, you have to substitute for fixed cost and plus RM 0.01x. Okay, this is answer for supplies. So they have fixed cost and variable cost. Okay, now we look at the next one. You have to form cost function for the total. Just now we have calculated based on the table just now. We have calculated the total cost. You have to add all the item, and this is the answer for total cost. Represent for all the cost item. And the next one, you have to calculate the total cost. Okay. Muaz, are you with me? No, mungkin internet slow. Never mind. Okay. Next, you substitute 9,500 units into the cost function. Y equals to RM 1.13, substitute the amount, and then you can find out that 1.13 multiplies by 9,500 unit plus 7,000, and then you will get 17. This one represent for RM. Yeah? RM 17,735. So this one is the total production cost. This is represent for the total. Yeah? Okay, total production cost. You have to add all the items, the total production cost. Okay. Now the next one. Wait. Okay, now we finish already question number 2. We go on to the next question. Okay, question number 3. Okay, this question. Okay, you are given the table. You must complete this table. Okay, when you want to complete this table, you look at given the unit. This one, 20,000 units and 20,000 unit and 10,000 unit. This is the level of activity. So from this level, you are required to calculate cost per unit. Okay, you see, you have to calculate cost per unit. Because from cost per unit, you can classify the item either variable cost per unit, variable cost, fixed cost, or mixed cost. As you know that for variable cost per unit, it remains constant. And for fixed cost per unit, it will reduce. You can classify the cost behavior based on cost per unit. Okay, next one. Okay, you can see I just highlight the level. This is the lowest level and this is the highest level of activity. Okay, what should you do? You based on the question, you are required to calculate the cost per unit of each cost of item at the capacity. Okay, kejap ya. Okay, the capacity. Oh, my student ni dia dah terkeluar. Okay, dia dah terkeluar. Never mind. Tak apalah. Internet slow. So, it's okay for me terkeluar. Sebab pagi-pagi mungkin sometime internet dia susah nak dapat kan. Okay, kita fokus to the question. It's okay ya, saya boleh je. Okay je. Okay, now kita look at the question. you are required to calculate cost per unit. Okay, you can see here ask you to calculate cost per unit for each item. For the level, dua level, 10,000 and 20,000. Kenapa you want to calculate cost per unit? Because you can classify that item either fixed cost or variable cost or mixed cost. Okay, the second one, determine the cost behaviors. Based on the calculation, you can classify the cost behavior. And the third one, when the, okay, determine the fixed cost and variable cost per unit for mixed cost. Okay, there are mixed costs in the question. You have to segregate mixed cost into variable cost and fixed cost. Okay, this is the answer. Okay, look at the answer now. Okay, okay, you must understand this table. You look at the answer for the cost in total. This one we call cost in total, and this one cost per unit. Number one, direct material. When you look at the direct material, when the level of output increase, the cost also increase. So maybe that one variable or mixed. But you look at the cost per unit constant. Number one, 2 ringgit. And the second one also 2 ringgit. For 10,000 unit, 2 ringgit. 20,000 unit, also 2 ringgit. So that one we know that one is variable cost based on cost per unit and based on total in total. The in total increase, but that one that mean it that one is variable cost. But for cost per unit, variable cost per unit remain constant. That one is the concept for variable cost per unit. Okay, for direct labor also you can see the total increase when the level of output increase, but the cost per unit remain constant. So that one we classify as variable cost. So also for factory supplies, the cost increase when the level of output increase, that one variable cost. When you look at in total and for cost per unit, you find out that the variable cost per unit remain constant. So that one classified as variable. Okay, for mixed cost, you can see that the amount is increased. And this one cannot categorize as variable cost per unit because cost per unit is decreased. So that means it contain variable cost and mixed variable cost and fixed cost for this item. So you have to segregate using high-low method. Okay, for the next item, maintenance and depreciation, you can see the amount is remain constant when the level of output increase, but for cost per unit, it will reduce. You know that the concept for fixed cost per unit, it will reduce or decrease when the level of output increase. So that one we classify as fixed cost. Okay, we look at the utilities. This is mixed cost. You have to segregate into variable cost and fixed cost. Okay, how to calculate? Okay, this is the step to calculate cost per unit. Cost, okay, macam ni kan. You get 2 ringgit. Cost, 20,000 divided by 10,000. You got 2. For this one also, 40,000 divided by 20,000. And you got 2 ringgit. Also for direct labor. This is the formula to compute cost per unit. You have to do the same step for all cost per unit for every item. Okay, the next one. So we have complete the table and we have classified the item based on variable, fixed, and mixed. But we have to calculate fixed cost and variable cost per unit for mixed cost, that is utilities. Okay, this is the answer. Okay, this is the conclusion. You can see variable cost will change in total, but cost per unit remain constant, whereas fixed cost remain constant, but cost per unit is decreased or reduced, and mixed cost different in total cost and cost per unit. Okay, that one is the definition here for cost behavior. Okay, look at the utilities cost. That one is mixed cost. We have to segregate into two items. Okay, you can see that this is the highest activities with the highest cost and lowest activities with the lowest cost for utilities. And you substitute the amount. When you substitute the amount, you get RM 0.30 or 30 cents per unit. So you must remember the formula. The formula highest cost less or minus lowest cost divided by highest unit minus lowest unit. Okay. And the next one, so when you substitute the amount for 10,000, so this is the variable cost at 10,000 unit. And you just substitute the variable cost in the formula and you can get the fixed cost is 3,000. So this one variable cost and this one is fixed cost. Variable cost is 3,000 and fixed cost also 3,000. And then we substitute 3,000 into the cost function. Y equals to RM 3,000 represent for fixed cost and this one represent for variable cost when you substitute X in terms of activity. So you just substitute the amount to form the cost function. Okay, I think this is quite easy, the question here. You just memorize the high-low method, that's all. Okay, so that one is for mixed cost. For variable cost, you also use high-low method to calculate variable cost per unit. But for variable cost, the fixed cost is 0. Okay, for now in the question, given calculate total cost when level of unit given 15,000. So we just substitute X equals to 15,000 and when you substitute the amount, the total cost at the level of 15,000 unit for utilities is RM 7,500 ringgit. Okay, as you know that one is mixed cost. So you can see conclusion, the total cost is 7,500 consists of fixed cost 3,000 and variable cost 4,500. So we know that utilities are mixed costs. So very easy this question. You just memorize the formula using high-low method. Then there are 3 steps. The first step, you must calculate variable cost per unit. The second step, you must substitute the amount for variable cost per unit in order to calculate fixed cost. And the third step, you must form the cost function because the cost function represent for total cost, and this function consists of fixed cost and variable cost. Okay, that one is question number 3. Number 3, you just calculate cost per unit. Okay, next one. We look at the question number 4. Okay, number 4. Okay, this question is quite different from other question. What is the difference? The difference is give. Okay, below are the information from the statement of comprehensive income for Syarikat Electricity Dole for 2018 and 2019, and it gave the selling price is RM50. So this one is the statement. There is the missing figure. You have to calculate sales in unit because this one is the statement. You see, this is the statement. So we have to calculate sales in unit. That one represent for activity level. Okay, look at this question. Okay, this question. And you must know this is statement. And it will give you in terms of total sales. So in this total sale, you have to calculate sales in unit. Okay, this is the 2 years. This one represents for 2018 and 2019. So from this table, you can find that the cost. So this one represents for cost of goods sold, wages and salaries, utilities, insurance, depreciation, and so on. From this cost item, you must identify or you must classify this item either variable cost, fixed cost, or mixed cost. So you can see that the sales increased from 2018 210,000, and then it increased to 270,000. This one is in RM. So what should you do? You must calculate sales in unit. That one represent for level of activity. Okay, nanti we will calculate. Okay, now we just want to identify whether that one is variable or fixed. Okay, this one we look at. This is the item. How many item? Okay, I just take the, okay, this is the item. Okay, let's see, I take this color. Okay, you can see the item is increase. Okay, utilities. Okay, insurance. Okay, you can see the insurance, the amount is, okay, okay, I take this card. Okay, I just want to take the insurance because this insurance represent or classify as as fixed cost. You can see the amount. Why? Because the amount remain constant when the level of sales in unit increase. Okay, maintenance. This one you have to calculate whether variable cost or mixed cost. So I just put it blue color. That means we have to calculate because you can see the amount increase, the cost increase. No, this one is still the same. So this one represent for fixed cost. Okay. Okay, for supplies, the cost increase when the level of output increase. So I just put blue color. That means we have to calculate variable cost per unit. And cost of goods sold, you have to calculate whether in this cost we have variable cost and fixed cost. Okay, this is the item that you have to calculate and you have to classify whether variable cost, fixed cost, or mixed cost. Okay, you have to, okay, you can see this one. Okay, you have to determine unit of production. Okay, as I have told you, this one, you have to calculate unit sales. That one represent for level of activity. And the second one, you must determine whether variable, fixed, or mixed cost. So just now we can classify for insurance, depreciation, and vehicle and maintenance. That one classified as fixed cost. But for wages, utilities, supplies, and cost of goods, you have to apply high-low method. Okay. And for mixed cost, you must calculate mixed cost. And this mixed cost consists of fixed cost and variable cost. And then you have to compute for 2018 and 2019 cost per unit, cost of goods sold per unit, variable cost per unit. Okay, as you know, variable cost per unit remain constant for every month or every year, and fixed cost also constant. Okay, now this one confirm on fixed cost only. Okay, now we just want to calculate. Okay, just now I just tell you the missing figure is units or sales in unit. Okay, you have to calculate. Know that what is the formula? Okay, this is the formula total sales because this is the statement. You have to calculate sales in unit. So total sale divided by selling price. So this is the sales, the level of activity or sales in unit for 2018, and you have to calculate sales unit for 2019. So this is the total sale divided by selling price. So you will get the answer for level of activities in terms of sales unit. So from this year, 2018 and 2019, 2018 represent the lowest unit, and for 2019 represent for highest unit. Okay, now look at the answer. Okay, this one you can calculate using cost per unit, or you can use high-low method. But my answer, I show you the answer in terms of cost per unit. Okay, the first cost item, cost of goods sold. So cost per unit, you can see that cost per unit remain constant and the total cost increase when the level of output increase. So that means cost of goods sold categorized as variable cost. Okay, the next one, wages and salaries. We find out that the total cost increase when the level of output increase. Okay, that one we can define for variable. But for cost per unit, it will reduce from 7.26 to 6.20. So that one classified as mixed cost. We cannot classify variable cost because the cost per unit not constant but reduced. So it consists of fixed cost and variable cost. Okay, the next item. Okay, we look at the next item for utilities. Okay, you can see utilities when the level of unit sale increase, the cost for utilities increase 14,200 to 15,400. But when we calculate cost per unit, we find out that the cost per unit, okay, you see cost per unit, this is cost per unit, reduce. So that one must have fixed cost per unit, right? So that one we classified as mixed cost. So we have to apply high-low method to calculate variable cost per unit and fixed cost. Okay, the next. Now we are studying the cost behavior. That's why I show you one by one for this item. This is cost item, okay? Insurance, okay, you can see insurance when the level of output increase, sales in unit, the level of activity increase for fixed cost or for insurance, the cost remain constant, but cost per unit reduce. So that one classified as fixed cost. There are two apa? Two important point. The first one, the total remain constant when the level of output increase, but cost per unit reduce or decrease. So that one classified as fixed cost. So the same step that you have to do for depreciation, for vehicle, and also maintenance, you find out this total remain constant when the level of unit sale increase, but cost per unit reduce. Okay, what should you do now? Okay, another one. This one supplies. Supplies when the level of units to be sold increase, the cost also increase. So that one may be variable cost. But when you look at the cost per unit remain constant. So that one we can classify as variable cost. So what is the next step? We must segregate for mixed cost. So from the table just now, there are I think two, yeah, two mixed costs. The first one, wages and salaries. You must segregate this into variable cost and fixed cost. What is the first step? Okay, this is the first step. You have to calculate variable cost per unit. So based on the wages and salaries, this one represent for 2018, the lowest unit, and this one represent for 2019, the highest unit with the highest cost and the lowest unit with the highest cost. So highest cost minus lowest cost divided by highest level sales unit minus the lowest sales in unit. So the answer is RM 2.50 per unit. So the second step, you must substitute variable cost in the cost function y equals to a plus px. P represent for variable cost per unit. For this step, you can take either the highest unit with the highest cost or the lowest unit with the lowest cost. And your answer for fixed cost remain the same. So RM 20,000. Okay, that one is for wages and salary. Can we form the cost function for Y? Yes, we can form the cost function for wages and salaries. So you should know that cost function for wages and salary consists of fixed cost. This is fixed cost plus this one 2.50 x. X represent cost driver. Then the level of unit dia boleh berubah ya. So this is the cost function for wages and salaries. It consists of fixed cost and variable cost. Now, we look at the next cost item, utilities or expenses. This one also cost item or expenses. You have to do the same step. You have to calculate variable cost per unit. So you just take lowest unit with the lowest cost for utilities. This one for 2018 and this one for 2019 with the cost of 2019 for utilities. So we just substitute the amount and you get variable cost per unit RM1 per unit ataupun 1 ringgit per unit. Okay, you just substitute variable cost per unit into the formula because we want to calculate fixed cost. And this is the second step. And you can use either the highest unit 2019. This one 2019 highest unit with the highest cost or lowest unit. This one for 2018 with the lowest cost. And the fixed cost remain the same. This one not per month, yeah, per year. Okay, now the next question. Okay, now can we form the cost function for utilities? Yes, that is the third step. So what is the cost function for utilities? Cost function means that it consists of fixed cost plus variable cost per unit. So this is the cost function for utilities. Okay, next one. Okay, based on the next question, you are required to calculate cost of goods sold in terms of cost per unit. Okay, just now we have shown the answer cost for 2018 divided by unit in 2000. Wait, just now macam, okay, this one is the lowest. Terbalik ni. Actually, this one 4,000 ya. Okay, we look at this one. I think macam ada something wrong. Okay, the highest cost of goods sold 63,081. Okay, 63,081. Okay, actually this one should be 4,200. Okay, this one 4,200. This one is the lowest cost and this one is the highest cost with the highest unit. Okay, 5,400. Okay, you can use the calculator. I just calculate first. 63,123 divided 4,200 and the answer is 15. Okay, that is correct. Okay, that one in the question you are required to calculate variable cost per unit for cost of goods sold for 2018 and 2019. Okay, the next question we have to calculate variable cost per unit for all the item. Okay, look at this one. Okay, this one is the item that have variable cost or variable cost per unit. Cost of goods sold. Okay, this one you can refer to the previous one that I have shown you how to calculate. Okay, cost of goods sold. This one variable cost 15. Salaries and wages. This one represent for variable cost per unit. This one salaries and wages and utilities. That one is mixed cost. But we have segregate already variable cost per unit with fixed cost. So this is the answer. Salaries and wages 2.50 and utilities 1.00 atau 1 ringgit lah. Kan senang kan? Okay, so this one is for supply. Supply, that one is variable cost just now, kan? So you add all together for all this total variable cost per unit. So you got this amount, 23.50. This amount, variable cost per unit, remain constant, okay? Okay, the next question, you are required to calculate fixed cost. Okay, this one not per month actually, fixed cost. So you just calculate fixed cost for salaries and wages using high-low method. And also you have calculate utilities for using high-low method. Can you remember just now? We have calculate just now. Okay, this one kan? Okay, this one we have calculate already 10,000 eh. This is fixed cost kan? Right? Okay, this one fixed cost. Okay, now we want to calculate total fixed cost for all the cost item. So, yang ni apa? This one, total variable cost for all the item that have variable cost per unit. And this one, total fixed cost that have fixed cost. Insurance and depreciation, we know that one is fixed cost. And this one, mixed cost, we have calculate for fixed cost, salaries and utilities, kita dah kira just now. And maintenance pun kita dah kira. That one is also, ni actually ni colour apa? This one is green colour. The green colour that mean dia memang fixed cost. So you just add all together for this item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 item, and you get the total fixed cost is RM69,520. Okay, the next one. Oh, habis. Okay, finish already. So this is the last answer. Okay, you just remember that. Actually, apa question just now? I think, yeah, that's the question. Yes, you have to calculate cost per unit, cost of goods sold, variable cost per unit, and fixed cost. That one is for the total cost item. And hopefully that you really understand. So the conclusion for this topic, I give you the conclusion. The first one, you must know how to calculate variable cost per unit using high-low method. And as you know, when you apply high-low method, you must identify the lowest unit and the lowest cost. The lowest unit represent the lowest cost. Highest unit represent for, not represent, lowest unit with the lowest cost. You must take that two amount. Highest unit with the highest cost. That two item is very important. And the first step, you must calculate variable cost per unit. Second step, you must calculate fixed cost. And the last one, you must form the cost function. That one for mixed cost. For variable cost per unit, the conclusion, when you substitute the amount using high-low method, you find out the variable cost, you have only variable cost per unit, but fixed cost is 0. And for maintenance, for this one, maintenance, insurance, depreciation, you can see the figure remain constant for 2018 and for 2019. That's all for today, and hopefully that you really understand. Okay, Muaz, are you with me? Tak ada gambar. Okay, maybe diorang ni ada problem internet sebenarnya, kan? Pelajar-pelajar ni, diorang ni berada di Kolej Matrikulasi Negeri Sembilan ya. Dan kita buat kelas online sebenarnya arahan from KKM government lah kan. Kita PKP. So dah nak habis pun tajuk ni. So hopefully that you really understand for this topic and hopefully you can prepare your answer. So sebelum saya habis, saya nak tengok apa dia orang tulis ni. Hanya dua orang ni. Okay, show je lah, tunjuk je lah dua orang kan. Assalamualaikum, cikgu. Bagus, Nadila. Waalaikumsalam. Selamat pagi dan harap awak faham ya this topik. Okay, yang kedua. Assalamualaikum. Selamat pagi cikgu virtual hug. Okay, selamat pagi virtual hug. Okay, thank you. Yang lain tu mungkin diorang ni with me but internet not very good. Itulah cabaran ya. Saya nak cerita sikit pasal cabaran online class ni. The most problem is the student sometimes cannot get the internet dengan baik. Ada internet, mobile data tapi not very clear. Itulah cabaran dia. Tak apalah, kita bersabar je lah kan. Itu adalah sebahagian daripada kehidupan kita sebagai seorang, saya sebagai seorang pensyarah, problem saya tak sehebat pelajar kan. Pelajar ni problem dia internet. Okay, saya rasa setakat itu saja for today and hopefully kepada semua pelajar, saya doakan semua faham apa yang saya ajar and stay safe, social distance, you must follow SOP, stay safe, social distance and pakai mask wherever you go and sanitize your hand. Okay, itu saja. Bye semua. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.